Organic superlube? Oh, it's great stuff. Great stuff.
Sentient is a game about using the world's most needlessly complex dialogue system to prevent a space station from falling into the sun. Every single event and plot thread is initiated, followed through, and resolved based on the player's conversations with the station's crew. Naturally, this means that there are a metric bajillion little scenes that can play out aboard the Icarus Sun Station. Unfortunately, like so many other games, Sentient's ambition is also its biggest shortcoming. For all of its supposed complexities, the player actually has shockingly little agency, and many of the game's actions and conversation topics seem to amount to very little. That is why I was extremely surprised when I discovered a sequence of events that are not even covered by the game's extensive strategy guide. But first, let me set the scene. In the opening of the game, your character's shuttle has crashed into the docking bay of the Icarus Sun Station. You awaken in the rubble to find an engineer who was injured by your bombastic entrance. The door to the station is locked, and you cannot get out. You got two options in this situation. You can either help the engineer, or extend him an invitation into the afterlife as you wait for the life support systems of the docking bay to shut down. Helping the engineer get back on his feet will allow him to open the door and help you escape the docking bay. Outside, you encounter some security officers who courteously give you a warm welcome zap with their faithful stun gun. It's only a reasonable precaution given the situation, and you and your engineer friend are soon whisked off to sickbay for an actual welcome aboard the Icarus Sun Station. Not helping the engineer, on the other hand, does still see you somehow miraculously surviving. You're still dragged out of the radiation-riddled wreckage into sickbay, but rather than the friendly medtechs, you come face to face with Chief Security Officer Jarrell. He is, understandably, extremely suspicious of you and your presence aboard the station. First of all, your shuttle was carrying 7 people, and 7 bodies were recovered from the wreck. Secondly, you're supposed to be part of the medical relief team, and you didn't even try to administer first aid to the engineer. And to top it all off, rumors have been going around that a political assassin has made their way onto the station. What a coincidence then that suddenly you would happen to show up, now of all times. This is a bad look. No matter how you slice it, your vibes are positively rancid right now, and your sussy ass gets pawned off onto the science team, who've been dying to get another guinea pig to run some dubiously legal radiation experiments on. At least you have a new conversation starter in your verbal arsenal. However, what if I told you that there was another path? Allow me to regale you with the tale of the third option. One day, I was playing the PC version of Sentient. Somehow running natively in Windows 10, the PC version allows you to walk, turn, and strafe at the same time, all at a very nice frame rate. I hoped to use this to get past the opening sequence as fast as possible. I did everything right. I aided the engineer, and I engaged the docking bay shields. But as I sprinted through the docking bay hallway as fast as my little legs could carry me, I noticed something. Something off. My good friend Hather Karjenum, the engineer, was gone. Somehow I had moved so fast that the part of the hallway connected to the docking bay must have unloaded behind me, with the engineer still in it. And as this whole thing is a scripted sequence, the game is not keeping track of where Karjenum is on the station. He doesn't have a routine like the other NPCs, he's just here for this one scenario. In any case, Karjenum was gone. I was left to face the security team alone, with no one to vouch for me, no one to bear witness to my singular good deed that would prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am in fact not a political assassin. I expected a lot of things to happen here. I expected the game to bug out. I expected Karjenum to just appear in sickbay like nothing ever happened. But what I did not expect was to be faced with a completely unique encounter with Chief Security Officer Jarrell. Though at first glance it may seem like the same interrogation you get subjected to if you kill Karjenum, it soon becomes apparent that this is an entirely different conversation. No one mentions the engineer. But Jarrell immediately brings up the fact that you sealed the docking bay shields. He never does that. No one ever does that. Oh, and as a quick aside, if you don't engage the shields, the standard dead engineer sequence plays out as usual. Now, the biggest deviation from the norm is that in this sequence, Jarrell doesn't consider you quite as suspicious as in the other one. He still doesn't trust you, but rather than immediately shipping you off to the radiation therapy lab, he actually waits for the recon party to return from the docking bay. Sure enough, a security officer soon comes down to give you the good news. Your identity has been confirmed and your name has been cleared. But the most striking thing about this dialogue is the mention of an android aboard the shuttle. An android with a sophisticated life sign echoing device. Now, as far as I'm aware,
And boy, have I spent a lot of my life on this game.
this is the only instance in the entire game, save for the wild and crazy twist at the end of one of the game's many quest lines, that this android is ever brought up. I've checked the script files. I cracked that thing open with a hex editor. This is genuinely the one and only other time this android is ever mentioned. And that's mind-boggling. I mean, sure, this little detail alone wouldn't have made the wacky twist any less jarring, but it certainly would have added some much-needed foreshadowing and context to a whole lot of things you go through. It just leaves you to wonder, what else might the game be hiding behind weirdly specific exploits like this? Was this sequence written as a failsafe in case everything went wrong? Or were you just meant to be able to engage the shields on your own at some point during development? The whole thing is just so bizarre. But that's not even the weirdest part. Under normal circumstances, you can find an engineer hanging out in one of the quarters of the research deck. His name is Baron Wright, and he zaps you the second he lays eyes on you. But when you follow this sequence, he's completely missing from the game. But him zapping you is not missing. He's not there, but you still get stunned. And he doesn't even appear after the following dream sequence either. You just get tased by a ghost and that's it. And somehow you still come away from this having learned the topic Turn to the Skies, even though the conversation you learn it in obviously never happened. But why would he be missing? How does he tie into any of this? Why would these scripts be joined in such a way? I mean, good lord, is it any wonder why I'm obsessed with this game when every single second you spend playing Sentient raises 50 questions about Sentient? For a while, I thought this was content unique to the PC version, until I realized that you can actually get the same result by simply not letting Karjenum get through the docking bay door. If you try to talk to the engineer just before he comes in and pick a nice long dialogue option like, for example, telling him your entire life story, you can stop him in his tracks while you run ahead. The door will close behind you, Karjenum will be left to the void, and you too can experience the joy of actually getting your credentials back from Jarrell when you ask for them. Oh, and not having to do the tumble maze, I guess. Hey, by the way, why is the floating disembodied head of the dead captain in the tumble maze?
Project initiated. Production complete. Request confirmation. Probe compromised. Nutrient resources. New data received. Mission accomplished. Invalid base site. Progress ended. Combat report. Improvement destroyed. Maximum population reached.
I'm literally the only person in the world who cares about this.